Hey guys, I got Picks here. Hope everyone's doing well, having a great week. We're here to be breaking down UFC 312 Plessis versus Strickland 2. We're going to be going over every single fight on the card, the best bets, fights to avoid, and yes, the contest is back. This is a pay-per-view event. Now, before we dive in, let's reflect on the last card. I did go 5 for 11 on picks, which is of course not great, and I'm going to be the first one to admit that, but the good news is that we did still come out on top with plus 3.5 units on our bets somehow, and that's the key lesson here. Picks aren't bets. We got lucky, the right bets hit, but 5 and 11 isn't the standard we're aiming for, of course. Let's improve this time around. This card though it's very tricky. The odds are all over the place. There are underdogs I didn't expect to see as underdogs and some favorites that are massive favorites, which is very surprising. I wouldn't say that it's the most exciting pay-per-view on paper, but those are often the cards with the most finishes, so let's see. Regardless, let's break this down. For the first fight on the card, we got Hyun-Sung Park versus Tumendemberel. Park comes into this 9-0, standing at 5'7" with a 66-inch reach. Multiple finishes by submission and TKO. He's the favorite at negative 250 due to his grappling dominance and ability to mix it up. Tumendemberel is 8-1, 5'7" with a 71-inch reach. He's a very dangerous striker with KO power and a nickname like Art of Knockout, and it's for a good reason. He's the underdog, but live at plus 200 or even higher by the time this comes out, especially if he connects early. Well, Hyun-Sung Park, he's a grappler with slick submissions, especially his rear naked chokehold. He likes to control opponents on the ground and finish them before the judges get involved, really. 4 of his last 5 wins come by submission or knockout. His striking is decent, but his key strength is mixing in takedowns and dominating on the mat. He's really, really, really good at grappling. And we've seen Tumendemberel, he struggled with that before. If Tumendemberel can't stop the takedowns, Park will likely control him, sap his energy, and hunt for a submission finish like he usually does. With Tumendemberel, like I mentioned, he's a knockout artist with clean, powerful hands and a 71-inch reach advantage here, which is 5 inches longer than Park. He's dangerous early and can turn, the lights around at any moment with one clean shot, as he's shown with his 7-second knockout in Gladiator FC. But here's the concern with him. In his last fight against Carlos Hernandez, he was exposed for his poor takedown defense. And I think if Park gets his legs, I think all of his power is going to be neutralized, of course. This is another 2025 special grappler versus striker matchup. Park's path to victory is extremely clear here. Get it to the ground and dominate. Tumendemberel's path is also just as clear. Keep it standing. I've said this so many times in these videos before for 2025. The odds for negative 250 for Park suggest that, they expect him to take him down all the time and control the fight. I expect 3 takedowns and controlling the entire round, all 3 rounds in the entire fight. I think Tumendemberel's win conditions lie in landing a big shot before Park drags him into deeper waters, and I think that's going to be really tough. But we've seen this before. We've seen this before where I'm going to take the really, really good grappler against somebody who has shit defense in grappling. But, of course, these fighters know that they're fighting grapplers, right? So they're just constantly practicing the grappling, like, for example, with Ziam, he faced Davis. We expected Davis to just take him down easily, and he wasn't doing that. And not only that, Ziam was really showing us that he's solid. He got way better in grappling. But we've also seen situations like Nakamura where he's just not going for fucking takedowns. We also saw it on Saturday with Abdel Wahab against Pogues. This guy's just not going for he's not going for any takedowns, no grappling, Greco-Roman wrestler, and just not doing it. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm picking Hyun-Sung Park, right? And I think he's going to dominate all 3 rounds. But it's just glaring that these grapplers are not grappling, and I expect this man to grapple, and he better. I got Park by decision. Up next on the card, we got Quillan Salkilld versus Anshul Jubli. They both stand at 6 foot tall. Of course, weigh at 155. Salkilld has a significant reach advantage at 75 inches. Meanwhile, Jubli has 69 inches. They both have identical pro records at 7-1. With Quillan Salkild's game revolves around long-range striking, high volume, and relentless pressure. This guy's really tall and really really lengthy, really. They're both the same. They're both the same height, but this guy has 6 inches in reach advantage. That's crazy. He controls the pace with jabs, leg kicks, and combinations while mixing in solid defensive grappling. In his last 5 fights, Salkilld has shown his finishing ability with knockouts and submissions, including a round 1 knockout of Blake Donnelly and a rare naked chokehold against Dom Marfan. His only weakness is he's been caught in a submission before himself, so scrambling on the mat can definitely be risky for himself. But Jubli, he's a well-rounded fighter with strong grappling, but his recent fights have shown a big cardio issue, especially under pressure. We saw that he won against Sergey, which, that's a good win. Sergey has some really good wins. He's knocking a lot of people out, but then again, he lost to Jubli and he lost to Weston Wilson. So we're going to, you go on from there, right? But he in his last fight against Breeden, he kind of just gave up. And I don't want to say that because I'm the guy sitting on the couch watching these fights. But at the end of the day, like, he just lost all of his energy and kind of just left his chin wide open. He was basically asking to get knocked out. I was like, oh my God, this guy's going to get knocked out. 2 seconds later, he got knocked out. While he's picking up wins through submissions and, decision control, he's definitely vulnerable when he's pushing to deep waters. There's no question about that. He has lost to Mike Breeden by knockout in round 3. Definitely exposed his lack of defensive sharpness. He was literally leaving his face wide open. His inability to recover when gassed was very, very glaring there. This is another classic striker versus grappler matchup, and Salkild's reach advantage and striking output, I think, is going to control this fight, and I think it's going to stay on the feet. I don't see Jubli needs to take him down early, and neutralize Salkild's stand-up game and wear him out, but his cardio is going to be really, it's a big issue here. I think Salkild's going to take over with his relentless pace here. I think he's going to be a fresher and more dangerous fighter. I think he's going to survive Jubli's early grappling attempts and then really turn the tides here and use his long range striking. And I think this is going to be an easy win, and I think it's going to be a knockout win for Salkilld. But I think Salkild's going to get this done. I think he's a really good prospect. He's going to get this done, in my opinion. I think Jubli's cardio issue is just such a big issue. Give me Salkilld by round 2 knockout. Up next on the card, we got Kevin Jousset versus Jonathan Micallef. Jousset comes into this with a record of 10-3, standing at 6'2" with a 75-inch reach. Meanwhile, Micallef is 7-1, 6'0", with a slight reach advantage at 77 inches. Jousset, he's known for training at the elite city kickboxing camp alongside fighters like, Izzy Adesanya, Aleksandre Volkanovski. Jousset's style blends judo-based grappling with some solid striking, making him a dangerous fighter from range and or the clinch. In his fight versus Kiefer Crosby, he showed off his grappling abilities where he took Crosby's back and locked in a rear naked chokehold in the first round. Jousset also uses his clinch control very effectively, throwing some short elbows and defending the takedowns from his judo base. However, his loss to Brian Battle, he showed that under pressure and when he absorbed some heavy shots, when Battle pushed forward, it became really tough for him, of course, and he eventually ended up getting knocked out. To win, Jousset needs to keep the fight standing and pepper Micallef with strikes. For Micallef here, he trains out of Resilience Training Center and has built his reputation as a submission specialist. Micallef's victories include multiple first-round submission finishes, but he's shown a lot of grit in his decision wins too. His ability to control opponents on the mat is very key for his wins. He's very much a grinder kind of a fighter. He thrives in grappling heavy types of fights, as seen in his submission win over Muhammad Ado. His rear naked chokehold against Matt Valey highlighted his ability to quickly secure dominant positions once the fight hits the ground. That's really where when it hits the ground, that's really Micallef's world. While Micallef's striking is definitely not the best, it's very, it's effective enough is really what I'm trying to say, to close the distance and force those clinch situations really to take it to the ground and on, as mentioned, his world. His main concern is avoiding prolonged striking exchanges, especially against someone like Jousset who can use his reach advantage. When breaking this down, I think this fight is very simple to break down. Can Micallef close the distance and drag Jousset to the mat, or will Jousset keep the fight standing and light him up from range? Another grappler versus striker. Jousset's striking is it's a lot more technical, and he's got a lot I think he has a lot more tools to punish Micallef with long punches and with long punches and kicks. However, Micallef's relentless grappling, that really could be a big problem for Jousset's takedown defense if it breaks down, of course. Because Micallef is the type of person who's going to chain wrestle. He goes for them all constantly. Jousset has a better overall tools, in my opinion. It comes from an elite gym that knows how to prepare for grapplers. And I think if he keeps Micallef at distance and avoids those prolonged clinch exchanges, I think he's going to be able to win this, either decision or by knockout. But if Micallef takes him down, of course, the submission could come very fast. I'm definitely leaning Jousset by decision here. I think the best bets are going to be Jousset by money line, Jousset by knockout if you're really looking for a prop bet, really. But I like the decision side. If you're on the Micallef side, I'd say by submission or really just the money line in general. He has some value there. It's worth a sprinkle if you'd like it. But me, I got Jousset by decision. Up next on the card, we got Cody Steele versus Rong. Cody Steele comes into this undefeated, 7-0, negative 240 favorite, 29 years old, 5'9" with a 71-inch reach. Meanwhile, Rong is 25-6, plus 195 dog, 24 years old, 5'9", 72 and a half inch reach. So 1.5 inch reach advantage, same height. But of course, Rong has a lot more experience and is 5 years younger, which is very surprising. Cody Steele does come into this with elite grappling and a really good submission game, while Rong is a very technical striker with precise combinations and a very, very solid output. Another one, this is another classic grappling versus striker match. Steele lands 5.27 significant strikes per minute, while Rong Zhu's output is a bit more with 5.45 per minute, but Rong also absorbs 5.80 strikes per minute compared to Steele's 5.27. So both are very hittable, but Steele does have a slightly better defense. Now, if you look at these numbers and you wonder, Rong is so experienced, a lot younger. Why is he such a big, underdog? And it's definitely because Steele is a grappling beast. He's that, he really is. His BJJ is very polished. He's shown he can control fights with a relentless pressure on the mat. His last 5 fights, he's finished opponents by TKO and or submission, so both, often through chain wrestling, and that's really what he does often. He really quick transitions to dominant positions, which leads to ground and pound. His win over Chasen Blair in Dana White's Contender Series, that was a really classic Steele win. Take him down and then go for the ground and pound. That's just really what he does. In the Contender Series, actually, he had to wait like another month just to fight because his first original fight opponent backed out while they were there. They were into the third. They were the 4th fight in the card. Into the 3rd fight, he just backed out. He just left. That's exactly. He's dangerous. Rong is a high volume striker who's dangerous as well when he dictates the pace. In his win over Kim Sung-wook, I'm probably butchering that, he stayed on the outside using his jabs and leg kicks to piece him up, really, on a unanimous decision win. But in his fights, like his last fight against Chris Padilla, which is his last loss, of course, he's shown a big weakness here, and that's grappling defense. If you take him down, you can control him. Still, when standing, Rong is very dangerous, 51% striking accuracy and a really good reach advantage. And here it's only 1.5, but this goes back to exactly what I was saying to you before, but with Steele, it's really different. I very much expect him and know he's gonna chain wrestle. I know he's gonna wrestle. I could put money on for Shursky. He's gonna wrestle, and I expect him to take him down. I think Rong is really, really good. I just think this is a bad matchup for him. I think we've watched Dana White's Contender Series, right? We killed it, if anything. Cody Steele is one of my biggest guys. I think there's a lot of big stars that came out of this Dana White's Contender Series season, and Cody Steele is probably top 10 in my opinion. Maybe even top 5. This guy's good. He's really good. And this fight comes down to whether or not he can take him down, close the distance, and if Rong can keep it standing. I'm gonna keep on saying this for 2025, apparently. But I think Rong Zhu's takedown defense has definitely been exposed multiple times, and I think against a guy like Steele, I think this is a really bad matchup. I think he wins inside the distance as well. I think your safest bet is absolutely Cody Steele by money line, but I think it's going to be about negative 300 by the time the fight gets here. So give me Steele inside the distance. If you're on the Rong Zhu side, maybe knockout early rounds. I just don't see it though. I mean, Cody Steele is very hittable, though. He's very, very hittable. And he kind of just leaves his face wide open as well. So I really wouldn't be necessarily too shocked if Rong gets a knocked out. But, Steele he is pretty durable. But he does get hit a lot, like a lot. And it is kind of scary. But if he takes him down, he should absolutely dominate this fight. Absolutely. Give me Steele. Give me Steele by submission. Up next on the card, we got Aleksandre Topuria versus Colby Thicknesse. Or Thicknesse. I honestly have no... Thicknesse? I have no idea. We're going to find out, right? Topuria comes into this fight 5-1, standing at 5'7", 29 years old. Opens up as a -410 heavy favorite. Colby comes into this 7-0. He's undefeated, plus 320, underdog, 25 years old, 5'9", with a 70-inch reach. This is another striker versus grappler matchup. It's just all over 2025. Topuria is explosive and very much relentless when he fights. His recent wins highlight his ability to pressure opponents early and finish fights before they even get started, really. His last 3 wins, most recently, was a first rounder TKO versus Johan Sagas. It shows his ability to be able to close the distance and land powerful combinations, and especially really early. However, Topuria is a bit of a question mark because of that, because he's never gone beyond round 1, and hasn't really been tested in a long, grueling match. Meanwhile, with Colby, he trains alongside Alexander Volkanovski, of course. Volkanovski is going to be in his corner, and as well, he's Volkanovski's main training partner, apparently. He brings in a very well-rounded approach, really. When you look at his tape, he's very well-rounded. That's really the words to say about him. He has shown effective striking when needed, but his true strengths really rely in his grappling. He's really good at the grappling abilities. His ability to secure submissions as well, like his rear naked chokehold win against in the Kongu fight night. It makes him very dangerous if he can get the fight to the ground. His cardio and durability are very much his key weapons here, especially against someone like Topuria, who definitely relies on early finishes. So after the first round, I think the more this goes on, the fight goes on the later rounds, the more I think it's going to favor him. Topuria comes out very aggressively, and I think he's going to look to score a very quick knockout, and that is very much reflected in the odds. But with Colby, I think he's shown ability to survive earlier in danger and take control through grappling and his clinch work. And I think Colby has the ability to neutralize Topuria's power in the first round. Now, mind you, these odds are definitely reflecting the idea that they're just going to assume that he's going to knock him out in the first round. I don't know about that. Truthfully, this entire card, the odds are all over the place, but I think this one for sure, -400 for somebody that we don't know, just because he's the champion's brother. I get it. He could definitely knock him out in the first round, but my pick is probably going to be Topuria. But I don't know, man. I think I think on a betting perspective, this is absolutely a dog or pass situation for me here. Topuria is definitely the favorite for a reason, I think, because of that knockout potential, but there's a serious upset potential here, I think, in my opinion. I think Colby's cardio, grappling, and really composure can grind out a win, really. His cardio is really going to be the main factor here, I think, especially because we just never seen Topuria go past the first round. I think that's a major, major thing to be looking at here. So, as a betting standpoint, this is definitely dog or pass. I would avoid this one completely. I don't know, man. I think I'm going with Topuria as a pick. It's tough. It really is tough because I really think Colby can pull off the upset and decision win. So I'm really torn on this one. I guess I'm gonna choose on the fly right now. We don't know Topuria's reach either, so that I'm gonna go with Colby. I'm gonna go with Colby decision. Up next on the card, we got Wang versus Bruna, Brasil. Wang comes into this fight 6-1. -440 favorite, 32 years old, 5'6" with a 66.5-inch reach. Bruna, Brasil is 10-4-1, plus 340 underdog, 31 years old, 5'6" with a 65.5-inch reach. Of course, Wang is coming off that crazy loss where she was like -1,500, -1,200, whatever it was. We'll get into that, of course. Wang is, she's looking to end your night early. Really, she's really, really, really good at what she does. She's an elite kickboxer. She presses forward with very heavy strikes, always looking to back her opponents up against the cage, where she unloads very, very fast combinations. In her last victory win against Victoria Leonardo, she scored a first round knockout, um, which was very impressive, but it was against Leonardo, which I think is absolutely garbage. So, you know, take that as you may, right? But that last fight, I really want to talk about that last fight a lot. It was it was glaring that she was basically playing with her food. I think she thought that she was fucking Anderson Silva or something. She just thought that she was just the shit already because she got one knockout win against Leonardo. She was Icarus, got a little too close to the sun, and then she lost by submission by Gabriela Fernandez, of course. It was a bad loss, especially in front of her hometown crowd in China, which they're not going to fight in a very long time because they don't fight there that often. So it was a bad look for Cong. But ultimately, at the end of the day, she is fucking good. She is really, really good. She even has wins. She has a win over Valentina Shevchenko. Don't get me wrong, it was in kickboxing, and Valentina wasn't able to use any of her time moves or anything like that. But you get my point. Cong Wang is definitely really fucking good, despite her bad loss. With Brazil, is she's very slick and precise with dangerous kicks from range. She knocked out Marcin Mon on the Dana White's Contender Series with a brutal head kick, and that's the weapon she'll want to use here, really. Her key is maintaining distance and using her footwork and jabs to avoid brawls. Against Molly McCann, she kept her composure, stuffed takedowns, and landed enough volume really to win the decision. But Bruna Brazil's weakness is that she struggles against pressure. Denise Gomes overwhelmed her with power strikes and forced a second round knockout. So if Denise Gomes could do that, I'm very much certain that Cong Wang is going to be able to do that. I'm assuming that Cong Wang is going to go up in price, even though people may not like that. It's just the fact that she's really fucking good, and that's the reason why she was negative 1,200 favorite last time. If Wong closes the distance, this shit could definitely turn into a very dirty brawl. She hits very hard. Brazil has already been knocked out 3 times. Wong's path to victory is absolutely clear here. It involves cutting off Brazil's movement, forcing exchanges, and looking to land a big right hand, or even possibly even taking her down and leading to a ground and pound. But if Brazil sticks to the game plan and tries to frustrate Wong by circling away from her power and mixing in some leg kicks and keeping her range, this can definitely go to Brazil's side as well if she racks up enough damage and potentially lands a game-changing head kick possibly. My prediction is definitely clear here. I think Wong's pressure is legit, but her striking defense leaves open for Brazil's counter jabs and kicks, really. So I think Bruno's Brazil has a chance to win for sure. I don't think she should be negative 500, but I think she's going to go up in price regardless. I think we should stay away from this fight. If anything, it's another dogger pass. I think all these odds are ridiculous. I think a lot of these underdogs might possibly win. So this card is going to be ridiculously hard. I think Wong, it's tough. She should be able to pressure Bruna Brazil really like Denise Gomes. That's really the idea, If she fights like the Denise Gomes, I think she's way better than Denise Gomes. If she fights like Denise Gomes, she should absolutely win this fight, very easily. But Bruna Brazil is not a scrub either. At the end of the day, I got Wong. I don't think she knocks her out, but she possibly could. I got Wong to win, possibly decision. This one's tough. Up next on the card, we got Tom Nolan versus Viacheslav Borshchev. With Tom Nolan, he's 8-1. He opens up as a dog, plus 115. 24 years old, 6'3" with a 73-inch reach. Meanwhile, with Borshchev, he's 8-4-1. He opens up as a negative 135. Slight favorite, 33 years old, 5'11", 69-inch reach. With Nolan, his biggest weapon is absolutely his range. He's very tall. He's 6'3", as mentioned, in the lightweight division. He's a problem. He keeps opponents at range, at distance with his jabs, straight punches, and powerful kicks to the body and legs. In his last 5 fights, 4 have ended by finish. Against Victor Martinez, he landed a knee to the body and followed up with strikes in the first round knockout. But his one loss came against a fast starter against Nicholas Mota, who caught him cold with some power shots. This means Nolan's defense, especially early, can definitely be shaky. Meanwhile, with Borshchev, it's all about pressure and power for sure. We've seen him fight, and that's why he's one of the fan favorites. He closes the gap very fast and works to the body to slow down his opponents, as we saw in his win over Mahashate. where he dropped him with a right hook and finished with a ground and pound. But his key weakness is definitely takedown defense and losses to like Mike Davis and Chase Hooper. That makes sense. He was dominated on the ground. If he's pressured with grappling or forced to the fight beyond the second round, his cardio tends to fade very much. This fight is about who can control the range, and I think Nolan can definitely do that. Nolan will look to keep Borshchev at distance with some jabs and his kick staying long and punishing him with some rushing when he's rushing forward. Borshchev needs to close the gap fast as he usually does, land some power combos and test Nolan's defense early. But if Borshchev can work the body and force exchanges, he can find a knockout shot for sure. Absolutely. But if he can't close the gap, I think he's going to be on for a long night. This is another one where I'm probably going to go with the dog. These odds are just crazy to me. They're just insane, man. They're just insane. Tom Nolan is 4 inches taller. He has a 4-inch reach advantage. Slava Claus is good. I'm not saying he's not good, but Slava Claus has his flaws too. He can absolutely get beaten up. You know what I'm saying? He definitely could. In his loss against Chase Hooper, he definitely got bodied. And I get it. He beat Yontop last time when he was a big underdog, but I mean, that's Yontop, right? I don't know if was he a big underdog. I don't know if that was when Yontop was a big favorite, but I mean it's Yontop. He just got dropped. We already seen Yontop hasn't impressed any of us. And with Nolan, it's definitely a little bit difficult because he got a knockout by Bogdan Grad, which has already aged pretty well from last week, right? And then he got knocked out himself in his debut against Nicholas Mota, but that's not really that bad of a look because Mota, he hits like a truck. Then he knocked out Victor Martinez himself and then ended up winning to Alex Reyes after that about 5 months ago. The thing about Tom Nolan is that like against Alex Reyes, I believe he was like negative 1,000 as well, and he didn't impress anybody. Everybody had him at round 1 knockout, and that just did not happen. And so he needs to, he needs to not fight like he did against Alex Reyes. It's just that simple. I think Tom Nolan takes this, but Viacheslav is definitely going to be a little bit different. He's going to be a lot more pressure heavy and a lot. It's gonna be different. But I ultimately I gotta go with the younger fighter. I gotta go with I mean, if it's a coin flip, right? And if it's a coin flip, I definitely think they're both pretty even and well matched. I'm going with the younger fighter, especially if there's odds and he's the underdog. I'm taking Tom Nolan here. I think he wins this. I think Slava is. I honestly don't think Slava is that good of a fighter either, but of course he is. I'm not saying he's not. His stock rose a little bit with the Yontop win, but prior to that, his stock was his nose diving. So I'm going with the younger fighter and the one with the one that has value. Give me Tom Nolan by decision. Up next on the card, we got Jack Jenkins versus Gabriel Santos. Jack Jenkins comes into this fight 13-3 as an opening. Jack Jenkins comes into this fight 13-3, opening up as a plus 190 underdog, 31 years old, 5'7" with a 68-inch reach. Meanwhile, Gabriel Santos is 11-2, opens up as a negative 230 favorite, 28 years old, 5'9" with a 70-inch reach. Now, with these fighters, this one was kind of like, whoa, why is Jack Jenkins an underdog for me until you start really looking at the numbers on both sides. First off, I want to mention some of these stats. Jack Jenkins lands 4.83 strikes per minute with a 76% takedown defense. Meanwhile, Gabriel Santos is landing 4.69 strikes per minute with a 50% takedown accuracy. Now, reason why I mention that is because that 76% takedown defense is kind of like very misleading in my opinion. Jenkins is definitely a very clean striker. He's definitely known for his very powerful kicks. I think everybody's going to mention his kicks. Well, what about those kicks when it comes to Santos? We're going to talk about that. And solid striking accuracy with 60%, of course. He dismantled Herbert Burns, but let's be honest, Herbert Burns is absolutely garbage. He destroyed him with leg kicks and forward pressure, forcing a third-round TKO. But while Jenkins has shown really good takedown defense at 76%, that number is very deceiving. He's been taken down multiple times by Jamal Emmers. Even when he took Jamal Emmers down, in about 5 seconds, Emmers literally switched position and he ended up on top. Even Herbert Burns landed a takedown on this guy, And regarding that Emmers fight, everybody in the media had that fight going to Emmers. Like, if you look back at that fight, I think Emmers won, which changes a lot of the trajectory for Jenkins' career here. And it was a controversial decision for the judges, and it was a split decision, of course. Even where Herbert Burns, who's not exactly elite at all, I think he's absolutely garbage. He took him down, and I think that's the key point here. And of course, this is a grappler versus striker matches, like I keep on mentioning. But the thing about this one is that I think Jenkins is not that good at grappling, and he's gonna have to keep it standing on the feet, of course. But he's been exposed by grapplers, and I think Gabriel Santos is really, really good at that. He's a dangerous grappler with 4 submission wins and aggressive style. He mixes body kicks, straight punches, and clinch work to soften up his opponents before looking for that takedown. Against Delano, he broke him down with body shots, dragged him to the mat, and finished him with a ground and pound. He does have some flaws. He absorbs 4.77 significant strikes per minute, and that does cost him, especially against fighters like Onama when he got knocked out. But if Santos can avoid prolonged striking exchanges, he can be lethal on the mat. And his 50% takedown accuracy pairs very well against Jenkins' history by being taken down by guys like Emmers and Burns. I think Jenkins' chances, of course, is to maintain the distance and chop his legs. I think that's going to be the key for Jenkins, but at the end of the day, you really can't chop nobody's legs when you're on the ground. And that's the key here. Every single time somebody's mentioning to me, what about his legs? What about his legs? Because I've been going back and forth with this on a lot. I posted this on my story. I've been going back and forth with a lot of my followers on Instagram. And at first I had Jenkins, but then I started looking at the stats more. His defense, his takedown defense is just not there. That's the first thing. That's the first thing you got to look at, So ultimately, I think Santos takes him down, and I think I think you'll find a submission here, probably around round 2. And at first, when I look at these odds, he was negative 200. I'm like, whoa, why? And then he goes to negative 250, and I'm like, what am I not seeing? So I went back. I had to go see some tape. And I'm like, yeah, this makes sense. This actually very much makes sense. So I got Gabriel Santos. I don't see Jack Jenkins. I guess I was watching too much recent tape on Jack Jenkins. He's definitely not what we think he is. He has very powerful kicks, but I think he's going to be exposed in the grappling game here. Give me Santos. Give me Santos by round 2 submission. Up next on the card, we got Jake Matthews versus Francisco Prado. Matthews comes into this 20-7, opens up as a negative 220 favorite, 30 years old, 5'11" with a 73-inch reach. Meanwhile, Prado is 12-2, opens up as a plus 180 dog, 22 years old, 5'10", with a 69.5-inch reach. While these two guys, I think Francisco Prado is really good, but I just think that Matthews' experience is high here. When you first look at Matthews, he's definitely not. You don't look at him and you're not necessarily wowed. But he does have a lot of experience. This guy's been in the UFC since 2015. He's a grappler at heart, and he's worked very hard to improve on his striking, I think. And you've seen it in his knockout win over Andre Fiallo. However, his bread and butter is definitely taking and mixing down the takedowns with his striking. He's dangerous when he can secure the top control and look for submissions, like a rear naked chokehold win against Darius Flowers. His biggest weakness is definitely dealing with high pressure strikers, like someone against Matthew Semmelsberger. He struggled to defend the blitz style combos that Semmelsberger came with and was knocked down early. Matthews also tends to fade when his grappling is neutralized, which was very much shown against Sean Brady. To win, Matthew needs to avoid Prado's power early and drag this fight into deeper waters. It's very simple. It's going to keep on going. This is a very easy trend. I sound like a broken record, but if you control Prado on the mat, you can cruise to a decision win, I think, or even a late submission. With Prado, he's definitely like a bulldozer. He's very aggressive. He's got 10 out of his 12 wins by knockout. Very impressive. And most of those came in the first round. He loves to push the pace, overwhelm opponents with his combinations, and he doesn't really give anybody time to breathe. Against guys like Ataman Azaitar, Prado's power, it was a game changer. He scored a first round knockout after catching him clean. But there's a downside of that. Prado is extremely reckless. He often charges in with wild strikes and leaves himself open to counters and takedowns, which is the key here. Jamie Mullarkey was definitely able to expose him with the takedown defense, taking him down multiple times and controlling him on the mat for those 3 rounds. And I think if Jamie Mullarkey could do that, I definitely think Jake Matthews can be able to do that. Prado's cardio also fades a lot when forced into deep waters, which can make him very vulnerable late, which is why I think Matthews can catch a submission here around the 3rd round. To win, Prado needs to pressure Matthews early, close the distance, and land a very clean shot and end this in the 1st or 2nd round, but I don't think that's going to be too easy for him to do, of course. This fight is a battle of aggression versus experience, let's be honest, and composure. I think Matthews is extremely experienced. This guy's literally, I lied, I thought 2015. He's been fighting since 2014 in the UFC. but he's been fighting since 2012, of course. But you get what I'm saying? Since in the UFC, he's been fighting since 2014. He even has a loss against James Vick. Do you guys know who James Vick is? That's a throwback. But you get my point, though. His experience is it's shining here, and I think that's gonna be it's gonna point towards his strengths. You know, I think Prado's reckless style definitely plays right into Matthews' strengths as well. So I think this is Matthews' win. I mean, yeah, I think this is Matthews' fight to win here. I think he wins by decision, but I do think that the submission prop in the third round or late, just in general, is a really good play. But if you do like the Prado side, I think it's first round knockout, right? Especially if you're feeling risky, you know, Matthews can be knocked out. This is a little bit of a scary play. Negative 220 is a little scary to me, but I definitely think Matthews gets this done. Give me Jake Matthews via decision. Up next on the card, we got Jimmy Crute versus Rodolfo Bellato. With Jimmy Crute, he's 12-4-1. He fights out of Australia, opens up as a plus 120 dog, 28 years old, 6'2", 74-inch reach. With Rodolfo, he's 12-2, negative 140 odds, 29 years old, 6'3", 77.5-inch reach. First off, I don't know why Crute is close to pick'em odds. Two, I didn't even know he was on the roster anymore. This is crazy. I think they're only bringing him back because it's Australia, I guess. I truthfully thought they dropped him. I really, really thought so. But let's go into the fighting styles. With Jimmy Crute, he's definitely known for his versatile skill set. His base is Greco-Roman wrestling. With dangerous submissions, he does have 4 submission wins. In his striking, he definitely packs some power in his left hand. He does have 5 knockout wins, but he can definitely be very wild and leave himself with openings. In his grappling, he definitely excels when he mixes in his takedowns with his ground control and his submissions. If he gets on top, he definitely is a problem. His weaknesses involve his striking defense. I think he leaves himself wide open. It's pretty garbage, to be honest. Crute has been knocked out twice in his last 5 fights, and he's vulnerable to leg kicks. You know, I've seen his loss to Anthony Smith, which is not a good loss at all either, and that loss was disgusting. That leg kick was brutal. I remember watching it and screaming because Jimmy Crute was a negative 350 leg, and he was my last leg to my parlay, and couldn't believe he was fucking losing to Anthony Smith, let alone like that. With Rodolfo, he's a striker with some serious KO power and some good size for the division. His base is aggressive Muay Thai with a solid striking arsenal. On his striking, he loves to pressure opponents. He lands 6.47 significant strikes per minute, which is a very high volume. His submissions, you know, Bellato can submit his opponents as well. He does have 4 submissions as wins as well, but he prefers keeping it on the feet to land some bombs, of course. His weaknesses do his weaknesses do include his defense, as it can definitely be leaky as well. He absorbs 5.9 significant strikes per minute, as he has been knocked out twice before as well. With Jimmy Crute, he's on a 4-fight skid, let's be honest. He lost to Jamal Hill, he lost to Anthony Smith, he lost to Alonzo Menafield, and we have Bellato riding a 4-fight winning streak. He's finished 3 of his last 4 opponents via knockout and or submission, of course. And I think he's active, he's sharp, he's built some momentum since his KO loss to Vitor Petrino. And let's be honest, like, Vitor Petrino was knocking everybody out. I don't care if that loss aged kind of poorly, you know. The path to victories include for Jimmy Crute is to wrestle and wrestle the shit out of everything. Just keep on fucking wrestling. Wrestle, 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 wrestle. And watch out for counters. Regarding Rodolfo, he needs to pressure and include a lot of those leg kicks. We've seen how Crute is very susceptible to those leg kicks. And it's going to definitely question Crute's mobility, especially going in for any takedowns as well, as that's going to be his base. He needs to strike early and needs to push the pace very early to catch Crute cold. Let's be honest. I definitely expect him to knock him the fuck out. I think Crute's chin is definitely questionable. I don't know why he's on the main card. I don't know why he's on a roster. I could have sworn he really got dropped. I think Crute is trash. I don't see any. The only way he can win here is by wrestling, and I don't think. Kick his legs and you win. You know, like, I hate being so, I guess the word is mean, especially because I'm the one just sitting on the couch watching him while I drink beer, you know. But I just can't, I don't know why Crute is on this card. I don't know why he's on a 4-fight skid and he hasn't fought in a year and a half. I don't know why Bellato is at negative 140. I'm hammering this. Give me Bellato by knockout. Up next on the card, we got Taliesin Teixeira versus Justin Tafa. Teixeira comes into this undefeated at 7-0, 25 years old, 6'7" with an 83-inch reach. This guy is fucking massive. With Tafa, he's 7-4, plus 130, underdog, 31 years old, 6'0" with a 74-inch reach disadvantage. So when looking at the stats, Teixeira, he's a very powerful striker with knockout wins in all of his last 5 fights, including a head kick KO finish in his first round knockout. In the first round knockout in the Dana White Contender Series. With Tafa, he's known for his knockout power as well, with 5 of his 7 wins coming via knockout, and he's coming off of a first-round knockout win over Austin Lane after a previous no contest bout. With Teixeira, his game is built around controlling distance with his size and reach at 6'7" with a 9-inch reach advantage. This guy's fucking humongous. He'll look to keep Tafa on the outside using his jab and straight punches. He's patient but deadly. Every opponent in his last 5 fights have been finished early and mostly with clean strikes. In his KO win in the Contender Series, it came after setting up his range early and then landing a perfect right hand. He thrives when he dictates the pace and punishes opponents who try to close the distance recklessly. A potential weakness for Teixeira is his lack of grappling experience. He hasn't been tested much on the ground. So if Tafa really drags him in the clinch or mixing some takedowns, Teixeira could find himself in unfamiliar territory, but I definitely don't expect Tafa to be doing that. Tafa is a powerful southpaw brawler. He's built for pressure and loves to close the gap, throwing big hooks and create chaos inside the pocket. His first round knockout win against Parker Porter at UFC 284 was a vintage Tafa with slip the jab, close the distance, and unleash his heavy hitter style. Tafa's weakness comes by absorbing really too many strikes. The amount of significant strikes he absorbs per minute is really high, 5.95, which is going to be very dangerous when facing a sniper-like type fighter like Teixeira. He also struggles against taller, rangier opponents who can frustrate him from the outside, as we saw in his decision loss to Carlos Felipe, and his struggles against Carl Williams wrestling. I think this fight comes down to who can, really impose their style of fighting. If Teixeira if Teixeira controls the range and stays disciplined, he'll pick apart Tafa with his jabs and straights. I think that's very straightforward. But if Tafa can slip inside and turn into a dirty brawl, I think he could absolutely knock out Teixeira. He could knock out really anybody, and I think he's going to very much test Teixeira's chin. If Tafa's power is absolutely undeniable, let's be honest, especially if he lands early. But I think his size, he's just too tall. His range is ridiculous. 9 inches in reach advantage is ridiculous. And he's 7 inches taller, and he's also very powerful too. I think his fundamentals. I think if he just sticks to his fundamentals, I think he should win this fight. I think if he just sticks those jabs and frustrates Tafa, I think Tafa's gonna get a little bit desperate, try to land some crazy hooks. I can't believe that Teixeira is only at negative 155. I think he should be at negative 200. I expect him to be so by the card. I just don't understand these odds. I think Tafa is not that good. Don't get me wrong, Talerson Teixeira is making his debut. I'm not trying to hype up this prospect too much, but he's just way taller, way rangier, and it's not like he's not a bad fighter, and I think Tafa is not that good. So ultimately, I think Teixeira by knockout is a solid pick. I think it's a super solid pick. Do you guys expect this to go to judges? I got Teixeira by knockout. I'm assuming like around round 2. Up next on the card, we got the co-main event. We got Zhang Weili versus Tatiana Suarez. With the champion, she's 25-3. Opens up as a negative 120 coin flip odds, which I think she's actually at an underdog now, which is crazy. She's 35 years old, 5'4", 63-inch reach. With Tatiana Suarez, she's undefeated, 10-0, plus 100 underdog. I think she's negative 120 now. 34 years old, 5'5", 66-inch reach. Meanwhile, when we look at the stats, Weili's landing 5.66 significant strikes per minute with a 53.5 accuracy, which is pretty fucking high. 2.09 takedowns per 15 minutes with a 60% takedown defense. Meanwhile, with Tatiana Suarez, she's landing a 3.02 significant strikes per minute, 63.6 accuracy, so a lot higher, which both are really high. 6.47 takedowns per 15 minutes with a 65.8 takedown accuracy and a perfect 100% takedown defense. She's fucking really good. With Weili, she's a striker. She's very aggressive, high volume striker with excellent combos, deadly leg kicks, and the ability to push the pace for all 5 rounds. We've seen this before. She's very, she's shown improvements in her grappling as well. I mean, just really look at her, submission win over Carla Esparza, but her real weapon is her striking against Jessica Andrade, Joanna Young Jacek, Amanda Lemos. She's overwhelmed them with power, speed, pressure. Zhang will likely stay on the outside, chop down Suarez's legs to limit the takedown attempts and mix in some body strikes to drain Suarez's cardio. Her takedown defense at 60% is solid, but Suarez presents a different type of grappling threat that she's never seen before. Zhang needs to stay off the mat because if she gets taken down early, it's going to be a very long night for her against Tatiana Suarez. Suarez is a wrestling beast. It's plain and simple. She's averaging over 6 takedowns per fight, which is crazy, with her perfect takedown defense to back it up as well. Against Carla Esparza and Jessica Andrade, she showed how suffocating her top control is, constantly working for submissions and leaving her opponents with no escape. Her guillotine choke against Andrade was so smooth, and if she gets Zhang Weili to the ground, she's hunting for something similar. There's no question about it. Suarez is hittable when standing. That's her biggest risk. There's no question about that as well. Fighters like Nina Nunez and Andrade found openings before getting dragged into grappling, but Suarez doesn't need much time on the feet. Once she closes the distance and locks her hands, her opponents are going for a ride. This is another classic striker versus grappler match, because as I mentioned so many times before, but Zhang Weili's path to victory needs to be that she keeps this fight standing, of course. She can't get taken down. She does have good grappling, but it's nowhere near the same level as Tatiana Suarez. Suarez is going to be going down for those takedowns, and she's going to be going for a takedown, for ground and pound. There's no question about that. Suarez is absolutely relentless with her takedown attempts, and with that 60% takedown defense compared to 100%, it's going to need to hold up against someone like Suarez. Suarez's wrestling is just at another level, especially once this fight gets to the mat. I think Suarez's ability to advance positions and secure submissions could be a game changer. She is slightly younger too. I mean, I think all these points are pointing towards Suarez winning. I think she's going to be champion here. I think she's going to take her down within the first 2 rounds, and I think she's going to be able to find a submission here. And if she doesn't find a submission, I think she can win by decision and grind out all 5 rounds. This is her time. She's been hurt for way too long. She's been way too good for way too long. I think she's going to approach maybe towards a -150 favorite by fight night, maybe even -180. Who knows? I think bettors know Zhang Weili more probably. I don't know. I guess I really don't know. But if you're a fight fan, if you're an MMA fan, you know Tatiana Suarez, and she's fucking good. And that's why that line flipped, even though Weili is the champion. So I got Suarez. I think she finds the submission here. So I got Suarez by submission. If you like Weili, maybe by knockout. Most likely decision, no. But if you're looking for a juicy prop, I guess Zhang Weili by knockout. But I got Suarez here, man. I think Suarez double chance submission by decision is a great play. She's probably still at +3.5 because she opened up as a dog. I think Suarez is absolutely the play here. Give me Suarez by submission. Finally, we have the main event of the night. Dricus du Plessis versus Sean Strickland for the championship belt. Of course, du Plessis comes into this 22-2, winning his last 5 fights. Opens up as a -210 favorite. 31 years old, 6'1" with a 76-inch reach advantage. Meanwhile, Sean is 29-6. Opens up as a +170 underdog. 33 years old, 6'1" with a 76 reach as well. So they're both 6'1". They both have 76-inch reach. Du Plessis comes in this with a 7-fight UFC win streaks, 3 wins by submission, 9 by knockout. This he's a very strong grappler, mixing in unorthodox striking with powerful takedowns. Meanwhile, Sean Strickland is a very high volume striker with 5.7 significant strikes per minute. He's really fucking good as well, of course, as we've seen before. When it comes to du Plessis fights like a wrecking ball. He has a very wild style. Especially when he's striking unrelenting forward pressure and takedown heavy of offense. He's very unpredictable, which very much makes him dangerous. I think he's not so technical, but he's obviously very fucking good. But that chaos definitely comes with a cost. Against Israel Adesanya at UFC 305, he mixed into the takedowns with big, powerful shots, wearing Izzy down until he secured a fourth-round submission. And against Robert Whittaker, his aggressive combos led to a brutal second-round knockout. His path to victory here against Strickland is get Strickland to the mat. And, because let's be honest, Strickland's not a grappler, and du Plessis could smother him on the ground looking for a submission or a ground pound finish. But, on the other side, we have Strickland. He's a master of volume striking and pressure fighting. He's constantly looking to push you back, and he's constantly looking to just keep on jabbing your face. He's not flashy, but he's absolutely effective at what he fucking does. His win over Israel Adesanya was textbook Strickland. Even though we definitely didn't expect him to win that fight, he did exactly what we expect him to do. Let's be honest, that's the way he fights. He backed Izzy into a corner, outworked him with jabs and right hands, and cruised to a dominant decision win. It was dominant. Strickland thrives by staying upright, walking opponents down, and overwhelming them with relentless pace and pinpoint combinations. Against du Plessis, his job is very simple. It's stuff the takedowns. It's just that simple. Keep the fight standing and break du Plessis' gas tank by the championship rounds. And that's the key point here. I think du Plessis' gas tank is nowhere near as good as Strickland's, and I think Strickland needs to be practicing that grappling. That's very obvious, of course, but Strickland, let's be honest, that first fight was very good. It was very close. If anything, Strickland outlanded him, I think by 40 significant strikes, and by I think 30 to the head. That fight was extremely close, and I can see why du Plessis is a -210 favorite, right? I completely understand. He's on a win streak. He has all the momentum in the world. I get it. And he's the grappler. But we've seen this fight before. I'm not worried about that. I'm thinking that Sean Strickland takes this. As crazy as it sounds. I'm on so many dogs tonight, but this is probably the one that I'm a little bit the most worried about. But Sean Strickland absolutely has a great chance to win. We've seen this fight. It was extremely, extremely close. And I think Strickland is going to learn from that last fight. And I think he's going to be able to execute his game plan here. And I think his striking is fucking solid. As annoying as he is, he's good. He's good. The breakdown is that du Plessis needs to mix in his takedowns with his wild striking, and it could definitely disrupt Strickland's rhythm and force him into bad spots on the ground. But if Strickland stays composed, avoids grappling exchanges, works it behind his jab, du Plessis tends to slow down in the later rounds, and I think that could spell a lot of trouble for him. I think Strickland's defensive awareness, superior cardio, and ability to win decisions give him the edge here. Du Plessis will be dangerous early, but Strickland's ability to weather the storm and outpoint him over 5 rounds, I think is going to be able to seal a deal here. And this is a tough one. Because du Plessis is fucking goddamn good. So it's either du Plessis by submission or Strickland by decision, in my opinion, if you're going to be looking for safest bests. But ultimately, at the end of the day, this card is going to make me look like an absolute idiot or really smart and know what I'm talking about. Because I'm on a lot of dogs, and I'm also including Sean Strickland in that. Give me Strickland by decision. I wonder how I'm ready to see other people's breakdowns, because I don't know if I'm crazy because these odds are crazy, and I'm on some dogs. The value is there. I gotta take them. And Strickland, there's a lot of value here at plus 180. If anything, he could have won that fight. Let's be honest. Give me Sean Strickland. All right, guys, that wraps up my breakdown for this week's UFC pay-per-view card. Let me know in the comments which fight surprised you and who you're betting on next. If you enjoyed the breakdown, hit that like button below. Subscribe for weekly fight predictions and recaps, and follow me on Instagram for real-time picks and bonus breakdowns. Also, if you want some exclusive predictions and early betting insights, check out my Patreon in the link below. Your support goes a long way. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.